These two guys. These two guys. It's these two guys.
Hey, George Henry here with these two guys. You know, we're obviously not making any money on our YouTube page yet. You know, we haven't got enough likes there. But you know how we can make some money? You can help us out by getting some stuff, some swag. All right, go to our these2guys.com website and go to our merch page, and I'll leave the link for you right down there. And we got all sorts of stuff. These are practical things. You know, you like to drink water, you like to drink soda, you like to drink stuff. Well, we got these two guys mug. There we go. You like to play cards? We got playing cards. We got these two guys playing cards. You can get those and enjoy those. You like to wear shirts? These two guys shirts. You like to wear hats? These two guy hats. You like to cook? We have aprons. That's right. You can wear an apron around the house. We also have a whole bunch of other stuff on there too that you can check out. We even got a comforter. I don't know why I designed that, but anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. So go to our website, these2guys.com, and get some merch. All right. We'd appreciate it. Also, you can find our energy drink on there, Power Blast. It is delicious. You can order those online too. Now, stay tuned for the show.
These two guys. These two guys. It's these two guys.
Hey, George Henry here.
And Larry Richardson.
And we are these two guys. Well, you know, a lot have been going on in the news lately, and we've got so much we could really talk about. There are so many things out there. You brought up 3 topics alone just in the past couple of days.
Yes.
That we could deal with. So we'll hit on one of them today and see where we go from there.
Yeah. See if you guys are actually interested in hearing this, because it is a decision that impacts a lot of lives, a lot of people,
hundreds of thousands of folks out there. And of course, we're talking about the recent Supreme Court decision on the temporary protected status, which basically what it did was it gave more leeway for the executive branch to decide when it would be safe to return folks into there. Now, this mainly has to deal with Haiti and Syria.
Right.
That is the overall conflict that they were discussing there, and it doesn't really have to do with other countries out there. But one of the fears I think that the left was saying was that, well, if you've determined that if it's up to the executive branch to decide when it's safe to send somebody back, there's no judicial review.
Right.
There's no Congress can't step in. All right. So basically it gives sole power of the executive branch and basically the Department of Homeland Security to go ahead and make the decision on this.
Which could be inadvertently sending people back to their deaths.
Could be. And, I did a little research on this and asked why Syria and Haiti were the 2 countries that were noted in this. And one of the things they said is that the information that the White House or the executive branch gave to the Supreme Court was that the temporary protected status could go away because things have changed. Economic conditions have changed in Haiti, and based on what the White House said, they're getting better, and that there is a temporary government in there, or not the word temporary, but a government has been placed in there that is more favorable to, democracy in America. And that. Now, the flip side to that is that there's still, and I wish we had Dr. Donaldson on here, because Dr. Donaldson made several trips down to Haiti during when it was really, really bad. He could probably speak on that. But there are still many areas of Haiti that are still very dangerous. So, and a lot of these people that are going back, where are they going back to? Obviously they're not just from one central point in Haiti.
Correct.
Right? They're probably from all over the country, and they're going to want to go home if they're forced to go back.
Right. But we don't know which ones are going back to those hostile areas versus,
and we don't know if
or even if any of them are
yeah,
going back
it's
to
just the status has been taken away, because there's folks that have been living in the country for decades under the temporary protected status. Doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to be, deported immediately,
right,
because of this ruling.
Now, and from my understanding too, during that time, there were avenues for them to gain status as citizens, right?
Well, I'm
Or
sure
is
they
it-
could. They definitely have the ability to go for citizenship.
Right.
I'm pretty sure most everybody that's here for a certain period of time
Has
can
the ability.
apply for citizenship.
Now, it does kind of raise a question as to this many people. Why haven't they? Like, I don't know. What I don't know about the temporary protective status is, does the government allow, or do they provide government assistance? Is
I
that-
don't believe so. I don't believe they have to work. They have to provide a living. They can't live off the government. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that is the case. But temporary protected status happened in 1990. And basically, it was humanitarian relief for people already in the U.S. who cannot safely return home due to armed conflict, natural disaster, or extraordinary temporary conditions. So, armed conflict is a thing. Battles, wars, situations like that. Syria was definitely embattled in the 90s. Haiti has been embattled for many decades now. And the situation is dire for a lot of these folks. But again, they've been living here for quite a while.
Quite a
Some
while,
of these
yeah.
folks, yeah.
And I think it was an earthquake too, right? It was a
Oh yeah,
like an earthquake or
natural
something.
disaster as well. Earthquake. The already depressed nature of Haiti, food insecurity, and all that was already there prior to, natural disaster. The natural disaster just exacerbated the conditions there.
Yeah.
And of course, when you take away the ability for people to work and live and survive and buy food, naturally you see criminal elements
Right.
start to take over and and they're not always necessarily criminal elements when they begin. They're just trying to, maybe even help their own people. But then it begins, when you have money and power put in there, the situation tends to change.
You're always going to get corruption. You're always going to get where money and power is, especially when one leader leaves, it creates a power vacuum, and you're going to get somebody in there that may not be stand up.
Yeah.
It's out for their own.
So the Department of Homeland Security is the actor that decides the country level TPS status. So they look at the country that is in question and they say, what is happening there right now to make this either important to keep it for temporary protected status or to remove temporary protected status from this?
Which I mean, it's a lot of power for them to be able to decide that stuff. And then when we get the Syrian temporary protective status plaintiffs, right? And we have the Haitian temporary protective status plaintiffs. The Syrians are challenged the termination through an APA and interim relief claims, while the Haitians challenge slightly different through APA and equal protection claims, which I'm not sure exactly what the difference are between those two.
Well, the relief claims, I would imagine, and again, I probably should look this up quickly, but the relief claims I would imagine would have to do with situations on the ground there and availability for, living life not in a stressful manner. I would imagine, providing relief.
Right.
And again, I might be totally off base on that. Whereas the equal protection is like, you can't send us back because we're not going to be treated right.
Right. Yes.
So one might be economic, one might be, how they're going to be treated when they get back there. But again, there's still these neither one of these countries are 100%, in good shape right now.
No. So in, 2010, Haiti's received TPS after a devastating earthquake. You have the 2012, Syrian receives TPS amid civil war and, I can never pronounce this word right, extraordinary temporary conditions. In 2025, the Department of Homeland Security announces termination of TPS designations for Syria and Haiti. Between 2025 and 2026, which is still going up, Syrian and Haitian plaintiffs sue lower courts to grant or preserve interim relief delaying terminations. So that brings us to April 29, 2026. The Supreme Court hears the argument, and as of June 25th of this year, the court issues a 6-3 ruling reversing interim relief and remanding.
So therefore, that changes the whole situation there, where now Department of Homeland Security can say, these folks need to go, or they are no longer under temporary status. But when you think of people that have been in the TPS for decades, their temporary status has become kind of permanent.
Right.
I mean, they've become permanent fixtures in American society. They probably have their kids in school,
grandkids,
education, probably providing, economic stability to their family and that. So will you need to then look at them and say, well, they've been here long enough where they can stay?
And I think that should be definitely one of those me personally, a case by case basis, right? There's some that probably lived here and just really haven't been, a productive member of society. And that's kind of harsh to say, but there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
And not meaning to set light on that or to put that in a light perspective, but we got a lot of Americans born and raised here
Yes.
that are a blight on the system.
This is true.
I mean,
this is true.
And it's like, but of course, you don't want that.
No.
You certainly don't want that in people that are coming here.
Well, I mean, like criminal element.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
criminal elements. We don't need to import in criminals. We have enough of our
We have
own.
enough.
we said.
Exactly.
But I did find that TPS itself does not automatically provide cash assistance, housing, or food benefits. So, like you said, a lot of these people, they came here, maybe not so much as for the American dream, but just to escape where they were. And they were productive. A lot of them, they had to have been. They've been paying taxes. They've been working. To send them back to a place that, at this long being here, it might be completely foreign to them.
True. Now, this is not a traditional ruling about whether the administration made a wide decision. The court focused on whether the courts have authority to review that decision at all, and the majority said the statute mostly says no.
No. Yeah.
What are you going to do about that? It doesn't. The thing I don't like about it is there's no backup. There's nowhere to go if you disagree.
Right.
You can't go to the courts with this if you disagree with what they say is happening in the country that you're having to go back to. And now, I'm not saying that this administration would do that, because I'm not sure that they would. But, this could be where it becomes a vindictive thing. And not just this administration, because this will hold for the next administration and the next one after that, unless some changes are made. Now, you mentioned earlier that, a lot of the liberals are upset with this, for different reasons. Obviously, some are different reasons. But you would like to see them maybe put a law into effect or something.
Right. It's temporary. It was in the name. It was the first letter of the, first word T is for temporary. It was not meant to be permanent. And I think from 1990 to now, this isn't, I'm pretty sure this isn't the first time this has been challenged. At some point, all of our lawmakers could have put their heads together and could have either created some other path to citizenship for these people, or could have created another law that says, hey, look, if this particular point in time, if, we do an audit, we go back, we get boots on the ground, we check, if this place is not safe, then we'll extend it. Instead of just,
Instead of making it just till whenever.
To whenever, right.
Yeah.
An indefinite timeline. I mean, there's, we create laws for so many things, unnecessary things in many cases. And yet here's one that, again, was a temporary process. It was meant to be.
Well, and again, too, I have a feeling that those who sought temporary protected status at the beginning had every intention to go back when the situation got better or was resolved. And, many countries, like these two countries in particular, have been embroiled with problems during this whole period.
Right.
None of them has really,
No conflict resolution anywhere.
nothing like that. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like you have to then decide what is the humane thing to do.
Right. And that's where the one of the lines is drawn, right? Like your humanitarian side versus the letter of the law, the what was written. So if you want to follow the letter of the law, then yes, it was temporary status. They're supposed to be here for a certain period of time or until things were assessed as being safe, and then they go back. Or you can say, look, things are still hell on earth over there, and we don't send them back. But then you have to change the letter of the law.
I wonder how this has to do with situations like immigration. Like illegal immigrants come over here. Some people say that they become a drain on the system, that they don't pay taxes, which is not necessarily true. Those that work and get a W-2, they have to pay taxes. But I wonder if the situation is the same for the TPS individuals. Do they get their health care? Do they get what are the benefits do they get here while they're here?
That is also a good question, because we know as far as immigration goes, an illegal immigrant would have to sometimes get false documents, things like that, right, to work. They still may work. They still may pay taxes under somebody's Social Security or things like that. We know that someone that's here, not temporary, but going through their green card status, everything is above ground, right?
And the TPS, I would imagine,
would be
we
above
know
ground.
who they are,
Right.
It's not like we're bringing people in that we don't know who they are,
Right.
Which again would go back to the question or the point you made was that did some of these end up becoming criminal element?
Oh,
since
I'm
we
sure.
know who they are.
Right. I'm pretty sure. I mean, in law of averages, a few of them didn't turn out as well as we'd hope. Just a law of averages. Some people say, "Oh, we sent 100,000 and 100,000 of them were model citizens." That's not going to happen.
I was watching Bill Maher the other day, and he was talking about how basically 5% of any one group can be bad.
Bad. Yes.
Whether it's prison guards, whether it's
Police.
inmates, whether it's police,
Yeah.
whether it's politics and all that. He says, a good number, 5%,
Yes.
and that 5% can wreak havoc on a lot of people.
And that sounds like a good number. If I was to try to put a percentage to, a room of people and determine how many of them I think were, bad, I would 5% sounds pretty
Yeah.
good.
What was that? I don't know who I was talking to the other day. It was Wayne, our radio DJ in the morning. And he says that in your lifetime, you will come upon 12 murderers that you don't know are murderers. You will meet 12 people in your lifetime that are murderers. And I thought that was an interesting thing.
That is
there.
very interesting.
And I don't know where he got that number from. Maybe he pulled it out of his
But
backside.
for the same people who says you eat like 100 spiders in your lifetime when you sleep,
Really?
something like that. Yeah, there's some crazy
It must be
statistics. as
tasty
of-
because I always wake up with a good taste in them.
Yeah. Just like I'm gonna go back to sleep and recover that.
So let's look at your lane, Larry.
So, again, we have to figure out when temporary stops being temporary, right? Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it a decade? A decade is 10 years. If it's 20 years, is it a lifetime? That's something that I think should have been looked at, within the last 30 something years. 30 plus years, right?
Yeah,
They had
36
to
years, yeah.
36 years to review this.
Well, it also makes you wonder that doesn't seem like sometimes the government does stuff when they don't put a whole lot of thought into it. You ever notice that? It's like, okay, we're going to do this. It's going to solve the problem. But then it creates 2 or 3 other problems down the road. And it's like, yeah, where is the common sense sometimes in things?
Yeah, it's
And I'm not saying that TPS is not a good thing,
No.
for people that are trying to avoid getting killed in their own country. But it doesn't seem like it was a whole package. It was just
It wasn't completely thought out.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a measure they put out there that way. They got it in the books. It got approved. And if I remember correctly, it was a pretty, well accepted policy. Yeah. I mean, it was like, why not? It's the humanitarian thing to do. It's what you want to do. However, it just, again, it was put forth without really any future thought as that, how do we get off the train? Because at some point, you got to figure out what you're going to do.
And again, it kind of just, like we just said, Congress never fixed the problem they created.
Correct. Which is pretty common.
Yeah. It's Congress.
It's very
what
common.
are you going to do?
Yeah. They from 9 to 5, they get off of work and they think about anything else until they start the next day, which is,
They have people for that, Larry.
They do.
They have people that read everything for them.
Mm-hmm.
They have people that, give them advice on everything for them, and then they go in there and vote. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but
Yeah.
I've known a few congressmen and women in my life to know that they have people. That's what their staff does.
So they definitely avoid fixing the problem. I mean, and again, when this came into question, a year ago, instead of just fighting it as a no, again, there was time to put other laws in the books to try to help these people. And shame on both sides of the aisle for not really coming to a conclusion rather than either it's going to be an off switch or an on switch.
Well, does that really surprise you, though, that both sides couldn't come to an agreement?
Not at all.
I mean, we are so divided right now.
We are.
That we are not getting anywhere. And again, we're seeing some change. I mean, some Republicans have started coming out and saying, kind of had enough, let's do something different. But yet, the difference in philosophy is so great that it's hard for them to find a middle ground to meet on.
So let me ask you guys, this question. Someone's been living here, they've been allowed to live here, work here, raise their families, intertwine with other people. They become pillars in their communities.
And legally, yeah.
They've done all this for the last 10, 20 years. How do you think that would feel temporary to them? How do you square that? How does that register as temporary? You're on your job, you're working, you're getting paid, you're getting promoted, you meet everybody, you have a position there, and someone tells you all of a sudden that it's temporary. Like, how do you square that? How do you feel?
Well, put it in a perspective of work-life balance. Have you ever taken on a job you knew was temporary?
Actually, I have.
Yeah. And how long were you in that job?
Way beyond the temporary.
And how long did it take you to feel like it was more permanent? Or how long did it take you to feel like, hey, I'm comfortable here?
At some points, I didn't even really think of the temporary status. Let's just say that's why when I mentioned the job analogy, because it was a temporary job. It was supposed to only last like 6 months. I ended up working there for over a year and a half, and I left. It wasn't even
Yeah, it wasn't even the job was done. You were done with the job.
I was done with the job.
Yeah.
So, again, I never felt like it was really temporary.
Yeah. So, ask yourself, if you were in this situation, say you left the United States to take a temporary job somewhere, you go to, let's just say, where's a good place to go? France. Mm-hmm. Say you go to France. You learn a little bit of the language. You meet people there. You like people. You find your favorite restaurants. You find your places you like to go. The job's pretty good. You're deciding you like the people. As you learn the language, it gets a little easier to communicate with folks. Then the job ends, and you're sitting there going, two choices. You go back home, or you find another job to keep yourself there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, it's really hard to call this a temporary protected status when it becomes multi-year, right. I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
And, again, it's just like, Congress has built a bridge. It's a temporary bridge. Just turned around and walked away from it. They haven't done anything to really, really fix it, And, Yeah, it's really sad. Again, we'd like to hear what you guys think of it. What your take is on it. I just saw the news the other day and I heard it and I just it was mixed because the logical side of me understands the argument that it's a temporary thing. It was always meant to be temporary, but I also understand that they never defined what temporary was.
Right. What term, what length of time
Right.
is temporary.
And then you got Homeland Security, who are here, by the way, are going to be the experts on what's happening in Hades and Syria that decide when it's okay for them to go back. Are they figuring out where these folks are going back, where they're going back to, or they're going back to this particular area versus this area? Are they just going to, pull up a bus, drop them off? Here's your.
Well, and then let's go back. I mean, I'm not saying we should go back to 9/11, but let's go back to 9/11. All right. And think of all the intellectual data, not intellectual data. What's the word I'm looking for here? The intel. Think of all the intel we got following that, going into war with Iraq and going into Afghanistan. Think of all the faulty intel we got.
Right.
Right. So all of a sudden you're looking at a country like Haiti. All right. Oh, well, everything's fine down there now.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it was.
Well, you can't even trust it because the fact we had good intel and they still didn't act on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people taking flight lessons and nobody ever showed up for the landing classes. Should be a red flag.
Yeah, you would think so.
But, we didn't act on any of those either. So, I think even good or bad data, I don't think these guys really, almost just seems like they don't care.
Yeah. And again, so, it's like you're leaving this in someone's hands that's number one, and I'm not against DHS, but number one, they're already overtaxed with everything they're doing here, with immigration, with all that information there. Then to add this responsibility on them, I just don't know that it's the right way to approach it. Like you said, I think maybe Congress should come in there and say, okay, let's make some rules on the temporary status,
right,
so that we can better deal with it.
No. And another downside to the whole thing, and I think this is one of the things that kind of attracted me to the whole story, is the emotional turmoil that's going out there in the media. A lot of conversations saying that there was a travel ban, and the travel ban has pretty much been in place for those two places for a very long time. So it's not anything new. But people are saying that this travel ban is against Haiti and Syria, folks coming here, and it's not. It's actually for us going there, which is, those have been out there for a very long time. The media makes a case where they're talking about jobs that are going to be taken away that no one wants to do, kind of like how they did with the border, right? Like who's gonna clean your toilets and pick your fruit. So I've seen some of those arguments too, and
yeah, but I don't know what jobs these folks are doing right now. I'm sure there's probably some pretty technical ones. Maybe maybe it's grocery store clerk. I don't know, but there's probably some IT people, some science people. Because when you're fleeing a country and you're looking for temporary status, you're generally not the lowest hanging fruit.
No.
Because there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through to even get to that point.
Yes, I agree. And some of the jobs that they were talking about, I guess like a lot of healthcare workers, right? Care home providers. That definitely seems to be a niche type of work for a lot of Haitians. I know when my mom was in a care home, I know at least 3 of the ladies there were from Hades. So yeah, I can kind of see some of the stereotypical concerns that those jobs will be gone away if you pull them away. But I always kind of frown down on the mental manipulation that the media does by saying that no one's going to take care of your grandparents. No one's going to take care of this if these guys go away. It's a sad situation, and I wish that our government and our Congress can get together and do something to try to at least help these people on a path to citizenship.
And this is a whole. I may go off the rails here, but I'm starting to think about culturally where America is on the cultural scale when it comes to caring for others. Seems like we've taken a step back from being. Now, I'm not saying there aren't. My wife's a caregiver. She loves what she does. She loves taking care of people. But it seems like there's fewer and fewer of those that grew up in American society
That wants to
that
do
want to do that.
Yeah.
And yet you have these other countries where their typical life is caring for a family until they die.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's I mean, like in the Philippines and stuff. There's not a lot of places out there that have facilities for like mental care and stuff. So you have the family in those homes taking care of these people.
And it's
other
not something
countries.
they shy away from.
No, it's in their DNA.
Yeah. But with us, it's like, and I remember back, I was talking to Deb a while back, we were talking about children with Down syndrome. Back in the 50s and 60s, they would put them in a home.
Yeah.
They wouldn't raise them. They wouldn't try to keep them because, it was too much of a strain. The parents were working. They didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know what,
They didn't know how to.
they didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to deal with it. So they put them in homes. Now you're seeing a lot more of that where there are no homes really for these folks. And it becomes a stigma if you try to put, a child like that into a home.
You have specialists to figure out how to actually cope with your children and how to, what their triggers are and how to communicate with them and stuff like that, in the home.
So I have an update on what we were talking about earlier about equal protection. Equal protection deals with discrimination based on nationality or race.
Okay.
So what they're saying was, well, because we're Haiti, you don't want us here.
Because accused them of eating dogs and cats.
Well,
Man.
I don't ever think they accused them of eating cats, right? It was the dogs. I mean,
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't remember if the cats
I
were
can't
involved too, but
I remember I remember the whole situation. I can't remember the eating the dogs.
they're eating dogs.
I think the eating the pets. I think was what
Eating
was
the
said.
pets. Yeah,
The
that's what it
pets.
was. Eating pets.
So that could be parrots.
Well, it's easier than hunting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If they're in the house already, and you're starving. I'm sorry. I'm being flippant. I don't really mean that. I mean, I've got 2 dogs and 2 cats. I wouldn't eat one of them.
No.
No, too chewy. But anyway,
But yeah, it's again, as far as as the media goes, I can only recommend to people just do what we kind of started to do here was our research on what's going on in the background. I think the scare tactics is probably not good for a lot of people. We just need to get together and come up with a better solution than just sending these people back to a hostile environment. At best case scenario, if they have to send them back, at least affirm that they're going somewhere safe. At best case.
well, and like referring to something my DJ in the morning has said this morning again, he said you can die falling out of bed.
That's just true.
So there's safety is a state of mind, I think, more than anything else. Yeah, again, the Supreme Court, they didn't do away with TPS. They just limited judicial review. They took it away from the courts, gave it to the DHS. That's pretty much all there is to say about it. There's still going to be protective status. There's still countries out there that are receiving protective status. And if the situation becomes bad enough, I'm sure that the government will do the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
So on another note now, we'll just go off riffing here for a minute.
I love riffing.
We did our podcast on Reckless Ben, and the restraining order has been lifted. Part 3 that he was saying he couldn't put out because that he's put out now.
Oh, when
He has a
did this happen?
Patreon. He has a Patreon account. Now, if you want to go, you have to pay $8 to watch it. It's about an hour long, or you can wait a few days and go to YouTube and watch it for free. But everyone, I have not seen it yet. I thought about paying the thing just so we could talk about it. But everyone that I've talked to that has seen it says, oh my goodness, the stuff he's putting out there now is just, more evidence on ineptitude from this company, Bricks and Minifigs, not the company itself, but the leaders of the
The
company,
leaders,
which it all rolls downhill. So if there's a problem with the company, the problem is at the top. That's usually
That's usually where it starts.
so. He has come out with that. He put out this 37-second long video about how I've got my freedom of speech back, and he's on top of this huge tower out in the middle of nowhere. He's got a drone taking the picture of him on the tower.
Doesn't have a black flag fluttering.
No,
around
he doesn't
with
have.
another-
No,
okay,
he
all
wasn't
right,
on
just wanna
that
make sure.
tower. He was out in the boonies. And someone said, "Well, I hope he's not trespassing." Because
He'd be in more trouble.
well, that's why he's reckless Ben.
Yeah, he is reckless
He
Ben.
does stuff, but he's going to be under a lot of scrutiny right now with everything he says and everything he does. So hopefully he's taking advice from lawyers now, as it comes out there. And he says that part 4 is coming soon. So I'm looking forward to seeing this part 3. And
Yeah,
seeing
I'm
what's
interested in
going
seeing
on with
part 3. I'm still amazed that, this spawn over Legos. I just remember stepping on the damn things and hurting my feet. That's usually about the extent of it. So when I heard the story, even first it was like, it was really nothing, and then now it's kind of like a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, kind of
it's-
like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
Coen brother. It's,
Burn After Reading.
exactly.
Yeah.
It is completely. It is insane.
That was the Coen Brothers, wasn't it? Burn After Reading.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, sure. It was either that. No, it wasn't the other guys. The other guys are funny.
Do you think about the Zuckerman?
Well,
brothers?
those guys
Yeah.
are really funny, but that's beside the point. But yeah, that's we'll get into more of that. I'm pretty sure we'll have another episode or
Another
two
episode
of that. Yeah,
That is a crazy story.
But you put money on anything. The Star Wars, in the box obviously had a good value to them, and it could have been Star Wars. It could have been gold bars for all that matter. But it's some
Yeah.
company taking advantage of a situation. And again, like one of the pundits that was talking about today, you may not be able to call them criminal. They could have been just dumb
Yeah.
or not known or ignorant or something. It doesn't necessarily mean the act they did was criminal. Doesn't necessarily mean it was good
It
either.
doesn't mean it was good. No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, especially with the police involvement, from what I saw from some of the clips, it definitely seemed like it's one of those, I just think back on the movie Rambo, right? The first blood
Right.
movie, when he pulls in the town and everybody's just gonna get him out of here. We don't want
Yeah.
this is our town, and I get those vibes.
Well, apparently there is the other Utah police force. I believe it's Provo. Sorry if it's not you guys. I didn't mean. Got involved in it, and there's something in there about them being worse than American Fork
Oh wow.
as far as what they did after that. So we'll have to tune into episode 3 or part 3 is what they're calling it, and see how that pans out in the long run.
That is interesting.
So anyway, what's going on in your life, Larry?
So got the vehicle. The Bronco came.
Larry got a Bronco.
And I think we talked a little bit during one of the other.
Yeah, we did because we
podcasts.
showed your Mustang pictures in there. Now we got
Got the
the
Bronco.
Bronco pictures.
I was actually very pleased. I mean, everything went by the numbers. I would never do that again.
Well, because of the issue you had getting it here, right?
Well, that, and plus I didn't even see the vehicle. I know people use Carvana and things like that, right? They buy these cars sight unseen. Carvana will buy a car sight unseen, and they usually give you a pretty good amount. They'll sell a car to you, and you don't really hear a lot of horror stories. But when you're not dealing with a big, corporate dealership or something like that, you got to question those little corner lots. And this is technically kind of like a corner lot.
Yeah.
But they were good. They were actually pretty good. I talked to the guy right before the car came. They sent the money like they were going to do. They overnighted a check to me. All the paperwork was done for the car here. It was much cleaner than I expected. You saw it. It came with a lot of extras. I was actually pretty impressed. So I think they'll get a pretty.
I like
decent
all the
review.
buttons that don't do anything, though. That's what I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Broncos, I think even from the inception from the 2021 and forward, they have these 6 buttons on top. They're auxiliary buttons, and the wires are already ran through the entire truck.
But how can they be run if you don't know what you're going to use them for?
Well, if number 1 would be blue, and you would follow blue, and they have like a little diagram, and it'll tell you where that blue wire terminates.
Right.
So if you wanted to put fog lights, for example, on your side view mirrors, there's a wire that you can designate to that. And all you have to do is go underneath the hood and then run that as your positive, ground it, and then now you have your positive and negative wires to the.
Okay, so the blue will go to the engine compartment,
All the wires go to the engine compartment.
and then there's a junction box.
There's like they're just kind of sitting there loosely, which I think is kind of weird for it, but they're all just sitting there loose. So, and there's actually other combinations. Let's say if you want to run something in the back, you got to take one of the other wires, connect it to another wire, and then when you turn it on, I guess it kind of bridges and sends the signal somewhere else. So you can run all 6 wires almost anywhere within the car without having to take it apart to run new wires. So I think it's actually pretty novel. It's actually pretty cool. It is the Wildland, the Wild Track, so it is kind of the Advance. It has all the little bells and whistles in it. We finally took the top down and drove it to Coos Bay and back, and it wasn't as noisy as I thought it was going to be. People give them a really, really bad rap as far as being loud, which there are noise. You can hear wind and stuff as you're driving it. But
What about tire noise?
very little tire noise. But I mean, they're pretty expensive tires, so when those things wore down, you put cheap tires on, you're going to get way more noise, obviously.
And they're wide too. They're all
very
wide, very wide.
Yeah, 35-inch tires. There's no lift on it. That's just a factory height. But it's already fun. And everybody I know that has a truck has already invited me out to the sand dunes, or,
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, not right
yet.
now. Not yet.
You gotta work it in a little bit. Get used to it. Get to where you when the front and back seat floorboards get dirty enough, then you're like, well, if you're not keeping them clean, then go ahead and take it out.
Then go ahead and take it out there. Yeah, take it out to the sand,
that's
which
what
I can't wait to take it out there. But it's a very, very nice vehicle. And like I said, the initial interactions with this dealership, Marin Imports, and if you guys are listening, again, this is not a dig on you guys. It started off very, very negative. At one point, we were literally on the phone, just like, you know what, screw this. I'm not buying a car from you guys. And it came out this really, really good.
But then they turned around. I mean, the conversations got better.
Conversations got better. They actually even paid a lot more money to have the car delivered here than they initially needed to, because, again, we're in a rural area. So no one wanted to take this route up to drop the car off. So some other guy took it, and he wanted like $100 more than what they had offered. So the both pick up the Mustang and the drop off the car, I think, cost them probably about $1,700.
But that didn't make sense too. I didn't think, they could have brought the one up and taken the other one back at the same time. That would have saved them
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a few hour drive, right? Could have been done the same day. But, that's what Ford did for me. When I brought the Mustang, they actually delivered up here. They had somebody drive the car up here, drove it all the way to the front door, came and delivered it. Guy jumped in the car with his wife and took off. But they were actually employees of the dealership. So they just paid them a little extra money to come up here, give them a per diem so they can eat, stop, and pay for gas and whatever, and drop it off.
I told you I had a friend that did that in Nashville, worked for the Volvo dealership. He would go, someone wanted a red, S80.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he'd go down to the closest dealer that had one, and he'd take another car with him, that they were looking for, and drop that off, and then come back and get the other one. So, yeah, kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's not bad. I like driving.
So I don't know if you folks have noticed, we got a couple new features. We got something called What's Your Take, where we just kind of throw a 30-second, 60-second idea out there, and kind of want you to get your mind working around it, and maybe
fishing,
respond to it, and give us some ideas on that. And then, of course, we got the quick hits that we're doing as well. So check that out. You can find it all on YouTube. And we've even got different playlists for that. We got a quick hits playlist. We got a What's Your Take playlist. And we got the podcast playlist. So you can look at all those and check those out. We'd like you to like and subscribe. We've gained 38 new subscribers in the last 2 months.
Yes, which is a slow crawl, but it just says people are watching.
Yeah.
And as a person who watches YouTube myself all the time, sometimes you watch a video and you go to the next and you don't hit that subscribe button. You got to do it, folks. You got to do. It's taken me a long time to get to that point, so I know that the 38 that we got probably could have been over 100.
Well, and I know too, having done this, now when I watch somebody's podcast, if I like them, I subscribe.
Yep.
Because you're doing them a favor and you're helping them out. And really like you for that. Also, if you notice on our Facebook page, These Two Guys Facebook, Deb and I are in a contest right now. I don't know if you saw that or not.
World's cutest couple.
World cutest couple. I know, man. All we got to do is get you to vote for us. Go to the Facebook page and check that out and give us a like, give us a vote.
Yeah, I've shared it. You can share it. You can vote.
Yeah.
Because they are a very cute couple.
We are. Kind of are. All right, Larry. Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, phone's ringing.
And I'm going to turn it off.
All right. So you guys like and subscribe and put your comments down in the comment link. We'd like to have you there and like to know what you're thinking.
We do. So, again, have a good evening.
Peace.
Or morning, or whenever you're watching us. Peace out.
It's these two guys. These two guys. It's these two guys.